You think they are free. You look at them weeks, maybe even months, after they betrayed you, after they discarded you like an object that no longer served a function. And they seem fine. They seem unbothered. They might even appear happy. And you are on the floor. You are breaking apart. You are trying to breathe through a panic that feels like it is rewriting your DNA from the inside out. But I want you to listen very carefully, because what your eyes are showing you is a lie. The calm you see on their face is not peace. It is the silence before a biological collapse. Welcome to the Healing Mirror. Today we are going to dissect the anatomy of a soul murder. We are going to examine the neuroscience of what happens when a dismissive avoidant betrays a super empath. We are going to answer the question that wakes you at 3 a.m. Why did they do it? And more importantly, why will they never truly recover from losing you? Let's begin with the illusion of the win. When the avoidant betrays you, whether it was a sudden discard, a third party, or a cold, calculated disappearance, their brain rewards them at first. This part is critical to understand. You have to understand the chemistry behind their cruelty. At the moment of betrayal, their brain releases a powerful surge of dopamine. It is a rush of dominance. For a nervous system that is constantly terrified of engulfment, terrified of losing control, pushing you away feels like taking a deep breath after being underwater. They feel as if they have reclaimed their territory. They feel untouchable. They look at your pain and feel nothing, not because they are psychopaths, but because they have successfully shut down the connection between their prefrontal cortex and their empathy centers. They have gone offline. They are operating in pure survival mode. To them, you were a threat. Your love felt too heavy. Your awareness was too sharp. Your intimacy was a consuming flame. So they extinguished the fire. They walked away from the burning structure of the relationship and did not look back. In their mind, they believe they won the war. But here is the brutal truth they are neurologically incapable of seeing in that moment. They did not just destroy a relationship, they dismantled their own life support system. They do not realize that a super empath is not simply a partner. You are not just a lover to their primitive brain, to their amygdala. You were a biological home. You were the external regulator for their chaotic nervous system. Throughout the entire connection, you were doing work they never consciously noticed. You were absorbing their anxiety. You were metabolizing their shame. You were synchronizing their heartbeat with your own. You were the safe harbor in the storm of their inner world. And now the harbor is gone. The regulator is gone. They believe they are free. But they are about to learn that freedom without connection is just another way of suffocating in the vacuum of space. They have entered what is called the relief stage. But the relief stage is a trap. It is a temporary anesthetic. And like all anesthetics, it eventually wears off. When it does, the pain will not strike them in the heart. Their heart is too heavily guarded. Instead, the pain will hit the nervous system. It will show up in the quiet gaps between thoughts. It will appear in the marrow of their bones. They have discarded the only person who truly saw them and loved them anyway, and the universe, or more accurately their own biology, is about to present the invoice. The cost will be higher than they can afford. You are suffering now. But they are the ones who are condemned. Let me explain exactly how their brain is preparing to turn against them. To understand why they cannot recover, we first need to understand what they actually lost. They tell themselves they lost a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or a spouse. They tell themselves they lost someone who was too needy or too emotional. That is the story their ego creates to feel safe. But through the lens of neuroscience, they did not lose a person. They lost a biological function. Let's talk about the super empath. You are not simply someone who feels deeply. That is poetic language, but it is not scientific. Biologically, a super empath is a human being with a hyperactive mirror neuron system. When you look at someone, your brain mirrors their emotional state inside your own body. You do not just observe their pain, you simulate it, you process it, you neutralize it. Now look at the dismissive avoidant. The avoidant is someone whose nervous system lives in a chronic, low-grade freeze response. They are hyper-independent because in childhood no one came to rescue them. So they learn to shut down their needs. They learn to suppress. They learn that intimacy equals danger. But the human brain requires regulation. We are herd creatures. We are not designed to self-soothe forever. We need co-regulation. When the avoidant met you, something extraordinary happened in their brain. Because of your heightened empathy, you were able to slip past their defenses. You did not demand words from them. You felt what they were feeling before they even understood it themselves. You created a safe container. For the first time in their life, their amygdala, the internal alarm system that constantly scans for threat, went quiet. This is known as limbic resonance, and you were fluent in it. Without them asking, you regulated their internal climate. When they were stressed, you became steady. When they were angry, you responded with understanding. When they were drowning in shame, you offered acceptance. You became an external hard drive for their emotional world. They offloaded their stress onto you. They offloaded their shadow onto you. And you carried it, because that is what super empaths do. You transform darkness into light. This created a powerful biological dependency. The avoidant felt better around you, but they did not understand why. They felt stable with you, but they did not attribute that stability to you. They believed they were becoming stronger on their own. They believed they were evolving, and this is where the fatal miscalculation happened. They looked at their new sense of calm and thought, "I am fine now. I don't need this person. In fact, they are starting to irritate me. They want too much closeness. I'm better on my own." They mistook the safety you provided for their own independence. It is like a diver breathing from an oxygen tank, who suddenly decides the tank is too heavy and cuts the hose. They believe they are breathing independently because there is still oxygen in their lungs. But the source has been severed. When they betrayed you, when they cheated, lied, or walked away, they were trying to cut the emotional cord. They wanted to stop feeling enmeshed. They wanted to reclaim control. But they forgot about the biological bond. They did not realize that your nervous systems had synchronized. By removing you, they abruptly eliminated the co-regulation. This is why recovery is impossible for them. They are about to fall back to baseline. And their baseline is chaos. Their baseline is a lonely, dysregulated, hypervigilant state where nobody understands them, nobody sees them, and nobody can read between their silences. They traded a custom-built home for a cold, anonymous hotel room, and the worst part is that their body knows it. Even if their conscious mind is saying, "I'm free," their autonomic nervous system is already panicking. It is searching for the signal it once depended on. It is searching for you, but the signal is gone. So why did they do it? This is the question that haunts you. You replay every memory. You analyze every moment. You ask yourself, if I was their biological home, if I was the only one who truly understood them, why would they destroy me? It feels illogical. It feels insane. But to an avoidant brain, the betrayal was not madness. It was a survival strategy. You need to understand the idea of the intimacy threshold. Imagine a container. The avoidance container for intimacy is extremely small. They crave closeness like anyone else, but they lack the capacity to hold it. When you, the super empath, poured your love into them, it felt good at first. It felt like rain on scorched earth. But you did not stop pouring. You loved them without conditions. You saw them fully. You moved closer and closer and closer. Eventually, the container overflowed. To you, closeness equals safety. But to the dismissive avoidant, closeness equals annihilation. It feels like losing their identity. It feels like being swallowed alive. Their amygdala hijacks the system and sends an emergency signal. Get out. Escape. You are disappearing. This is too much. And this is where the tragedy unfolds. They cannot articulate this fear. They do not even consciously understand it. They just feel an intense, sudden aversion. They feel the urge to flee, but they cannot simply leave a perfect relationship without justification. That would force them to confront themselves as the villain, and the avoidant ego cannot survive that. So they fabricate a crisis. They create a reason. They justify the betrayal. They rewrite the story so that escape feels righteous instead of cowardly. This is what we call a deactivation strategy. They begin rewriting reality itself. They slowly start focusing on your flaws. They zoom in on your imperfections. They convince themselves you are controlling. They decide you are demanding. They label you as too much. They turn you into the villain so they can justify walking away. The betrayal, the cheating, the sudden emotional shutdown, that is the nuclear option. That is the emergency eject button. They use betrayal as a weapon to create instant and irreversible distance. If they cheat on you, they know it will hurt you. They know it could end everything. And on a subconscious level, that is exactly what they want. They want to scorch the bridge so they cannot cross back over it. They want to force a separation they are too afraid to ask for directly. They sabotage the bond to protect their independence. It is a preemptive strike. I will hurt you before you can hurt me. I will leave before you can consume me. I will prove that I don't need you. It is a defense mechanism taken to a catastrophic extreme. They looked at the vulnerability you offered and interpreted it as weakness. They looked at your loyalty and experienced it as a restraint. So they shattered the chain. They stand now in the rubble, brushing the dust off their hands, telling themselves, I did what I had to do. I chose myself. But this is the greatest illusion of all. They did not choose themselves. They chose their trauma. They chose fear. They chose the familiar comfort of emotional isolation over the terrifying work of genuine love. They believed the betrayal saved them. In reality, it sealed the door on the only real escape from their loneliness. They locked themselves inside their own prison. They pushed away the only surgeon capable of healing their heart, and they did it by driving the scalpel straight into that surgeon's chest. And now the anesthesia is wearing off. The adrenaline from the escape is draining out of their system. The silence is rushing in. Fast forward 3 months, maybe 6. The relief phase has ended. The dopamine surge from the breakup, that intoxicating sense of freedom and control, has fully metabolized. It is no longer in their bloodstream. And now the crash begins. This is the phase the avoidant is never ready for. This is the phantom limb stage. In neuroscience, when someone loses an arm or a leg, the brain often refuses to accept the loss. The neural circuits that controlled that limb remain active. The brain sends a command, move the fingers, but there are no fingers. There is only empty space. The result is intense, disorienting pain in a body part that no longer exists. That is exactly what is happening inside the avoidant brain in relation to you. You must understand this. The brain maps close relationships as if they are literal parts of the body. Because you were a super empath, because you were their external regulator, you occupied a massive amount of territory in their neural map. For months or years, their brain ran a specific stress protocol. Step 1, feel anxiety. Step 2, reach for the empath. Step 3, receive soothing. Step 4, return to baseline. That pathway was carved deep into their gray matter, like a canyon etched by water over time. Now look at their current reality. They have a bad day at work. They feel a sudden wave of insecurity. They get sick. In a nanosecond, faster than conscious awareness, their amygdala fires the signal down the old pathway. It reaches for you. It expects your voice. It expects your reassurance. It expects the warm, heavy safety of your presence. But the signal hits nothing. There is no one there. This creates what neuroscientists call a prediction error. The brain anticipated safety and encountered emptiness. Instantly, cortisol floods their system. The stress hormone spikes because the usual mechanism for removing it, you, is gone. They attempt to self-soothe. This is what avoidants pride themselves on. I don't need anyone. I can handle this alone. So they reach for their familiar coping tools. They drown themselves in work. They scroll endlessly. They drink. They work out until exhaustion. They dissociate. But here is the terrifying realization dawning on them. Those old tools no longer work, and the reason is simple. You changed their baseline. Before you, they were functioning at half capacity. They were used to emotional numbness. Being with a super empath showed them what full regulation feels like. You showed them what it means to be truly seen, deeply held, completely stabilized. You upgraded their nervous system. Now that you are gone, they cannot revert to the old operating system. They know too much. They have felt too much. Work no longer numbs them the way it once did. Alcohol doesn't quiet the noise. Casual hookups feel like abrasion, not connection. Over and over again, they reach for the phantom limb. Reach, nothing. Reach, nothing. Reach, nothing. It becomes a slow, grinding form of psychological torture. A deep, gnawing unease settles in. A constant static of anxiety hums in the background. They cannot identify its source. They do not consciously label it as missing you. Their ego is not ready for that collapse yet. Instead, they ask themselves, why am I so tense? Why can't I sleep? Why does everything feel muted and gray? They blame their job. They blame their environment. They blame the world. But in the primitive animal layer of their brain, they know the truth. They are in withdrawal, severe chemical withdrawal. They are detoxing from the most powerful substance a human can experience, unconditional love. And unlike a drug addict who can eventually detox and stabilize, the avoidant never fully detoxes from a super empath. Because you didn't just make them feel good, you made them function. Now they are malfunctioning quietly where no one can see. So what do when the phantom limb pain becomes unbearable? They do what they have always done. They search for a replacement. They enter the rebound phase. You may witness this. You may see them on dating apps or posting photos with someone new, someone who looks nothing like you or eerily similar to you, and it hurts. It makes you feel replaceable. But you need to understand the neuroscience of comparative mapping. If you truly understood what was happening in their brain during those encounters, jealousy would dissolve into pity. The brain evaluates value through contrast. It compares current experiences to the strongest stored memory. For the avoidant, you are the reference point. You are the standard against which every future connection is measured. And this is catastrophic for them. They go on a date. The new person is attractive, kind, easygoing, safe, low demand. The avoidant thinks, this is perfect, this is what I want. No intensity, no depth, just calm. But then the conversation unfolds. The new person asks surface questions. They talk about work, weather, shows, and the avoidant brain begins to glitch. They are waiting for depth. They are waiting for that piercing look you used to give, the look that said, I see who you really are. But the new person doesn't have your eyes. They don't notice the subtle shift in tone. They don't reach for their hand when the silence thickens. They operate in standard definition. You operated in 8K. The contrast is brutal. The easy conversation suddenly feels empty. The chill dynamic feels stagnant. A dullness creeps in. They feel unstimulated. You see, you ruined them for shallow intimacy. You trained their nervous system to crave profound soul-level connection. You expanded their emotional palate. Now they are trying to survive on emotional fast food, and their body rejects it. They will try to force it. They will tell themselves, this is healthier, this is better, but their body will revolt. They will feel the ick. They will become irritated by the new person's laugh. They will find excuses to pull away. Why? Because the new person cannot read their mind. With you, they never had to explain themselves. You just knew. With someone new, they must use words. They must articulate feelings, and avoidants despise emotional articulation. It drains them. With you, the connection felt telepathic. With anyone else, it feels like manual labor. And when it comes to emotional work, they are profoundly lazy, so they cycle. Partner after partner, a revolving door of disappointment. Each new person fails the invisible test, not because they are inadequate, but because they are competing with the ghost. The avoidant is searching for you in every unfamiliar face. They are hunting for your patience, your humor, your unwavering loyalty, your ability to hold their darkness without retreating. But those qualities are rare. They are the superpowers of a super empath. They are not found on dating apps. Eventually, the avoidant retreats. They may stay in a shallow relationship simply to avoid solitude, resigning themselves to a quiet, numb existence. Or they may withdraw entirely, choosing isolation over the constant reminder of what they destroyed. They thought you were the problem because you were too much. Now they are slowly confronting a far more frightening truth. Everyone else is not enough. They discarded the diamond because it felt too heavy in their hands, only to discover their pockets are now filled with stones. And stones do not shine. We have already spoken about the biological loss. We have explored the chemical withdrawal. Now we have to descend into the deepest, darkest chamber of the avoidant psyche. We have to talk about shame. To understand this, you need to understand the function of a mirror. In every relationship, partners serve as mirrors for one another. When you look at your partner, you see a reflection of yourself in their eyes. But you, the super empath, are not an ordinary mirror. You are a golden mirror. When you looked at the avoidant, you did not fixate on their flaws. You did not obsess over their emotional unavailability. You did not define them by their coldness. No, you looked straight through the armor and saw their potential. You saw the wounded inner child hiding behind the walls. You saw the kindness they were capable of becoming. You saw the hero version of them that even they had forgotten existed. And because you looked at them with such belief, such devotion, they began to believe it too. When they were with you, they liked the reflection they saw. They felt like a good person. They felt worthy of love. Your gaze shielded them from their own deep, toxic shame. You became the external confirmation of their goodness. Then they betrayed you. They took that golden mirror and smashed it on the floor. Now they are standing alone in the room, forced to face a different reflection. The mirror of their own conscience. And what do they see now? They do not see a misunderstood victim. They do not see a lonely soul trying their best. They see a monster. This is the shame spiral that slowly dismantles the dismissive avoidant from the inside. At their core, every avoidant carries the same wound. I am defective. I am broken. If people truly know me, they will leave. You were the one person who truly knew them and stayed. By betraying you, they have proven their deepest fear correct. They have proven to themselves that they destroy what is good, that they poison what they touch. that they ruin the best things that ever come into their life. The story in their head begins to shift. It moves from "I need space" to "I'm a bad person." And here is the psychological trap they cannot escape. Normally, when we hurt someone, we seek forgiveness to release guilt. If we apologize and the other person forgives us, the shame dissolves, the bond heals. But the avoidant cannot do this. First, their pride will not allow them to admit fault. Their ego is too fragile to say, "I was wrong." And second, they burn the bridge so thoroughly that they know they do not deserve forgiveness. So the guilt remains. It hardens inside them like a stone. It rots quietly. Every love song reminds them of you. Every happy couple triggers the memory of what they destroyed. They try to suppress it. They rewrite the story. They tell their friends, "It just didn't work out. They were crazy." They can lie to other people. They cannot lie to the person staring back at them in the mirror. At night, when distractions fade, the truth crawls out. They remember your face when your heart broke. They remember your tears. They remember the shock in your eyes. That memory is etched into their hippocampus, playing on repeat in brutal high definition. And here is the real tragedy. You were the only person capable of forgiving them. You were the only one with enough empathy to understand why they did what they did, but they pushed you so far away that your forgiveness is now unreachable. They sentenced themselves to a lifetime of unresolved guilt. They walked away from the light believing freedom waited in the dark, but in the dark they found only their own shadow, and it terrifies them. Now we have to talk about memory. We have to talk about why you still live rent-free in their mind, even if years have passed without contact. There is a principle in psychology known as the Zeigarnik effect. It states that the brain remembers unfinished tasks far more vividly than completed ones. A waiter remembers every unpaid order. The moment the bill is settled, the memory disappears. The brain deletes the file because the task is complete. Now apply this to your breakup. If the avoidant had sat down with you, spoken honestly, cried with you, held you, and offered a real goodbye, that would have been closure. Both brains would have processed the ending. The grief would have run its course. The file would have closed. But dismissive avoidants almost never leave that way. They exit through betrayal, through ghosting, through blindsiding silence. They vanish without explanation. They believe this is easier. They think if they don't talk about it, it will disappear. But neurologically, they did the worst possible thing for their own peace. They left the loop open. They didn't finish the sentence. They didn't even add a question mark. They tore the page out entirely. And because the story never ended properly, their subconscious refuses to let it die. This is the ghost in their machine. Their mind keeps circling the same questions. Did I make a mistake? What would have happened if I stayed? Do they still love me? Are they happier without me? Why did I run? These questions run silently in the background, draining their energy day and night. You become an itch they can never scratch. At first, you are the one in pain. You analyze, you question, you search for meaning. But here is the difference. You feel your pain. You process it. You grieve. You heal. Eventually, you close the loop yourself. You accept that they were broken and you move forward. The avoidant does not do this. They suppress. And suppression creates obsession. Because they refuse to look at the wound, it never heals. Because they refuse to answer the questions grow louder. 5 years from now, you may be happy with someone else. You may barely remember them. Your tab is closed. 5 years from now, they may still be replaying the ending. Driving to work, suddenly ambushed by a memory of you, wondering where you are, wondering why they left the only person who ever made them feel real. They tried to erase you. Instead, they immortalized you. By leaving the task unfinished, they trapped themselves in a loop where the breakup never ends. They are not haunted by a ghost. They are haunted by the unfinished version of themselves that died the moment they walked away from you. Now we arrive at the turning point. This is where the power dynamic flips. We have to talk about your silence. After the betrayal, the avoidant expects a specific response. They know you feel deeply. They know you fight for love. Their ego prepares for pursuit. They expect long messages, emotional voicemails, unexpected visits. They expect you to beg for clarity, for answers for them. They want this. Your pursuit validates them. It proves they were the prize. It feeds their ego. It confirms their superiority. It says, I have all the power. But then something happens. You wake up. You realize the person you loved was an illusion, and you do the one thing that destabilizes them completely. You go silent. Not performative silence, not temporary distance. The silence of finality. You block them. You delete the photos. You cut access to your life. You stop watching. You stop asking. You disappear. To the avoidant, this is not just unexpected. It is a psychological shock. It fractures their core belief system. They operate from the assumption that people will always be there, waiting, orbiting. Your absence shatters that illusion. People want me more than I want them. That belief shields them from rejection. But when the person who loved them most suddenly becomes completely indifferent, that belief fractures. Your silence becomes the loudest sound they have ever heard. Your silence delivers a message no argument ever could. It says, I see you. I see what you did. And you are no longer worth my energy. It says, I am not afraid of losing you. You are the one who lost me. This annihilates their internal story. They sit there refreshing their phone. Nothing. They check your social media. Nothing. Or worse, they see you thriving. They see you glowing. They see you living a life that does not include them in any way. And the relief they once felt curdles into panic. They realize they were never indispensable. They realize your love was a gift, not a guarantee. And now that the gift is gone, they are starving. They begin to feel the vacuum. When you were chasing them, they felt smothered. Now that you are gone, they feel the cold emptiness of space. They feel the absence of attention. They feel irrelevant. For an avoidant, being hated is tolerable. Being shouted at is tolerable. That is still engagement. That is still intensity. But being ignored, being treated like a stranger, that is their kryptonite. It forces them to face a reality they cannot escape. They are no longer the center of your world. They are just a deleted scene. Your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their insignificance, and the hardest truth for them to swallow is this: you did not leave because you were weak. You did not leave because you gave up. You left because you finally respected yourself more than you loved their potential. That kind of grounded strength, that self-contained power, is exactly what they spent their entire life trying to build, and they never did. You did. You won the breakup the moment you stopped playing their game. Now we zoom out. We step beyond the raw pain of the ending. We move 1 year forward, 5 years, 10 years. This is where the real tragedy of the dismissive avoidant becomes visible. It does not arrive as an explosion. It arrives as erosion. By now, they have likely settled into a life. They may be married. They may have children. From the outside, everything looks fine. They look stable. They look healed. But look closer. Look at the micro-expressions. Look at the energy behind their eyes. There is a flatness there, a dullness. This is the permanent void. The human nervous system is built to expand. We are meant to grow through connection. But the avoidant made a life-altering decision when they betrayed you. They chose contraction. They decided the risk of being hurt by a super empath was too great, so they unconsciously lowered the ceiling of their emotional world. They chose safety over depth. They chose a partner who would not challenge them, someone who would not ask for real vulnerability, someone content to live on the surface. At first, this feels like success. It feels calm. It feels peaceful. But biology is unforgiving. Biology demands balance, but it also demands vitality. Living in constant emotional suppression requires enormous energy. They are always holding the door shut on their own feelings, always monitoring distance, always managing closeness. This creates chronic, low-grade exhaustion. They feel tired without understanding why. They feel uninspired without knowing the source. And in quiet moments, the memory of you returns. It no longer comes as panic. It comes as a heavy, dull ache in the chest. They remember how alive they felt when you looked at them. They remember the electricity. They remember being fully seen. And they realize, slowly and painfully, that they will never feel that way again. They are living in grayscale after having known color. This is soul loss. The realization that they traded a rare diamond for gravel because gravel was easier to carry. They traded the ocean for a swimming pool because the pool felt safer. But you cannot explore a swimming pool. You cannot dive deep there. You only float, and eventually you stagnate. They spend the rest of their life defending a castle that is empty. They have independence. No one controls them. No one engulfs them. But there is no music inside the walls, no warmth. They won the battle for autonomy. But the price of that victory was their aliveness. They sit across from their partner at dinner and feel a crushing loneliness. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of being with someone while a part of you quietly dies. Deep down, they know you were the turning point. You were the chance to heal, the opportunity to break generational trauma, the doorway to becoming whole. And they panicked. They swerved. They crashed. Now they limp forward on a broken leg for the rest of their life. They will never tell you this. If you ran into them, they would smile and say they are doing great. But now you understand the neuroscience. You know the truth. They are not thriving. They are surviving, preserving an empty shell, haunting their own life. So where does this leave you? You listened to this searching for clarity, searching for a reason the person you loved became a stranger. Now you have it. It was never because you were not enough. It was never because you were unlovable. It was because you were too real. You were a high-voltage current plugged into a low-voltage system. The fuse did not blow because the power was wrong. It blew because the system was not built to hold it. Take a deep breath. Picture them one last time. See their castle. See their walls. See the shallow connections and the quiet, safe, gray existence. Do not hate them. Hate is still attachment. Hate is still a cord binding your nervous system to theirs. Feel pity instead, because you are about to do what they never will. You are going to heal. Your brain is wired for neuroplasticity. It is built to process pain, metabolize grief, and reorganize towards something better. The pain you feel now is not the end. It is transformation. You are burning away the parts of you that accepted crumbs, burning away the belief that love must be earned. You are not losing them. You are reclaiming yourself. They served a purpose. They were a mirror showing you where you lacked boundaries, where you abandoned yourself. Take the lesson, then close the door. Do not peek through the keyhole. Do not wonder if they are happy. Understand they are trapped in a loop of their own making. They will repeat this cycle again and again, a Sisyphean existence pushing the same boulder uphill only to watch it fall forever. but you are free. The moment you accept they cannot give you what you need is the moment your power returns. You are the prize. You always were. You simply handed your value to someone who did not know how to carry it. Take it back, walk away, and this time do not look behind you. There is nothing there but a ghost. Everything ahead of you is real. You survived the betrayal. Now it is time to live. This is the healing mirror. If these words reached your soul, if you felt recognized, write it down. Say, I am taking my power back. Make it real. You are not alone.